Yeah, well, it's crazy. I mean, think about this. You remembered the name of my company, right? Like that meant something to you for you to do that. I can't remember things that my professors told me. Like there's few things I do remember. So that it means that something resonated. And that was like the beginning, the planting of the seed for me.
Already.
Let's go.
What's up? All right, so what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Barcast. Again, with Christian and I, just talking about business and really kind of whatever we want. So if you like us talking about whatever we want, be sure to give us a thumbs up and a subscribe if you want to see more content such as this. So what's up, man?
Everything. Everything's up. I feel good. I feel really good.
About what?
Everything. No, I feel good in general because these past few months since February, it's been a whirlwind. Just business has been crazy busy, expanding opportunities with my clients, so all good stuff, but like a lot of positive pressure. And then this past weekend I had a huge event, so it's been all culminating to this one point. And so now I feel relief because that's over and I can now get back to working on my business.
So like, I guess, this week we kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about your business. I don't know, we've been talking about We Trade HQ a lot, but we kind of revealed to everybody that you are now our CSO, but that's not all you do. You don't just work for us, you actually do have your own business. So, just so that everybody's watching can understand, like what is it that you do exactly?
What do I do? So, in a nutshell, the main hat I wear is I'm a coach and a trainer. So my company's 262 Hospitality, and I work with, my niche is hospitality, so typically bars and restaurants, which is my background, but really I work with entrepreneurs. I coach them, I coach their managers, and I really create structure. So it's the businesses that are growing and create structure so they can scale. Very simple.
Well, now you're an online business too.
Yeah, exactly.
So how's that? So obviously you said that it's going awesome. So like, what's going on with it?
So 2 years ago I launched, and it was an unofficial launch, a soft launch. So that's this month that happened. So I'm pretty pumped about that. Thank you. And so, my goal was actually I never thought it would be full time, because with consulting and coaching, it's often cyclical. So, to my surprise, it kind of moved really quickly, and then from there, it actually ended up getting traction. Where when I was looking at it again, I realized that the business could potentially sustain me full time, and maybe it's not as cyclical as I thought. Yeah. With that said, I quit my full-time job last November, which, what's that, 6 months ago, I quit my full-time job at Johns Hopkins, and now just do my company full-time. So that even though I quit in November, I've kind of been building up to get like a full client book. So that's been the past month I've been able to achieve that. So now it's, I have my clients, they're set, and now it's just about really continuing to work on my business and growing my business from like the back end side.
Yeah, I mean, and the first question that I had that came to mind about that, and for me, I maybe for everybody it's different, but when did you say, okay, I'm ready to do this full time, I'm ready to just quit my regular stable job and just kind of, and I know this obviously isn't your first go at it, but for me, I think it was almost kind of a screw it, I'm just gonna go for it kind of thing. But was it different for you or what? Yeah,
it was that feeling a little bit where that screw it, let me just do it. Yeah. There's no better time than the present was kind of the thought. I did have in my mind when I realized that it could be a full-time opportunity, I had in my mind a goal, which was actually, so we're in May of 2019. By the end of 2019, by December, I wanted to be transitioned out. So I was essentially a year ahead of schedule. So I had set this idea of by the end of, I had a revenue goal for 2019, and I felt like when I hit that revenue goal, then I could have some savings built up where I can go out and do it full time. And the idea was that with that revenue, I can have a little bit of a cushion to sort of bridge the gap between when I quit my job and when I get a full book of clients. So that was the plan. Obviously, plans changed, and what happened for me that I didn't expect was I had more opportunities, and so I was trending in the right direction from a revenue perspective, but I realized I couldn't get the revenue goal. It would take me longer to hit the revenue goal if I stayed part-time.
Right.
So with the opportunities that were there, I was like, okay, there's a few clients that seem interested. Let me just quit my job and just hope that I can get these clients locked down. And fortunately, that worked out for me.
Right.
But once I quit my job, it was scary. But like I said, within 3 months, then I had a full book of clients. So I kind of backed myself against the wall.
I was just about to say, because like, you know, for me, I was making enough side hustle money, and it was almost the same money that I was making in my full-time job.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, okay, well, I know I can at least live off of that. So I'm
Yep.
just gonna jump ship and kind of screw it too. But like, there's always that fear for you. Do you think that like there's something to be said for just like, I don't want to like encourage anybody to just go off, you know, just say screw
Yeah.
it. I'm gonna quit my job tomorrow and start fresh. But I think is there something to be said with like, I don't know, just saying I'm gonna quit today. Today's the day.
I think of it in like parenting, where you know you're never ready to truly be a parent. Like
Kick him out of the nest.
It's just, well, like, yeah, like kick yourself out of the nest. Like you're never ready to be a parent until you're actually a parent, right? Which, in a way, in a roundabout way, you're always ready to be a parent, right?
Right.
So I think the same philosophy applies. It's like you're never ready to be an entrepreneur until you're actually an entrepreneur, like a full-time, you know, not a side hustle, this is your thing. So with that same sort of mindset, then you're always ready to be an entrepreneur. So I believe that. I believe there's something in putting yourself in discomfort, and growth comes through discomfort. If you're comfortable, there's always going to be a reason not to do it, right? There's always going to be some sort of concern. There's never a time when you're like, this is perfect, this is exactly how it's going to be, I'm good. Because even if I felt like I had a full book of clients, I could lose a client or two clients the next day. So there's no guarantees, and then I would be in the same spot. So like taking that sort of frame of mind, you know, I think the discomfort is a good thing because it allows you, it just makes you work a little bit harder to ensure success.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I think that there's going out of your comfort zone. Everybody talks about that, but I agree that like I mean, and especially for me, I have this huge fear of failure that I just have to consciously push myself to get over.
Yeah.
And really taking the leap to even do this was like a huge, I don't know, like I had a huge anxiety attack about it kind of thing, where
Yeah.
I knew that I was capable of doing it, but at the same time, I was just afraid of, you know, putting myself out there. And I think that's probably why a lot of people are just stuck. They feel like they're stuck because they're afraid to just go out, and that fear kind of like holds them back.
Yeah.
And at some point, you just have to have the courage to push your own self off the diving board, and hopefully you don't belly flop or whatever. But and I mean, so things are going well,
Yep.
and you've scaled yourself out to a certain point. And so I'm guessing, I mean, I know that you're happy with things that are going now. Where do you go from here? So like We Trade HQ, we're obviously seeing a lot of success, but we're just getting started. And I think that you probably feel the same way, that you're kind of just scratching the surface a little bit. Where do you go from that point? You know, is it just, okay, I'm just following the strategy that I have, or is it like I'm following, you know, whatever's going good? How do you scale yourself out, especially like with you, 262, it's basically start off with just yourself,
Yeah.
you know, and didn't really scale out to anything else as far as like hiring employees and whatever else. I know you had just hired somebody.
Yeah.
So touch on that a little bit.
Well, so I think the one point you made was like the strategy, and I can't impress that enough for entrepreneurs. Like, the strategy is the foundation. that allows you, it's counterintuitive, but it allows you to be more flexible. It allows you to move quicker. Because if you have a strategy, you don't have to think about a direction. You sit down one time, you say, this is, let's say you have a strategic plan for 90 days. You say, this is the direction I'm going, let's move, right? There's no resistance. Now, you don't have to stick to that, but you move in that direction, you aim in that direction, and then you shift and you tweak, whatever. So the strategy piece is important. And so, the first step for me was getting full-time, all right? So quit my job and working on the company full-time, and then trying to make the money I made before. So now I'm comfortable, right? I did that, and now I'm making a little bit more money. So then the next piece is reinvestment into my company, and where do I direct those resources for maximum growth? And kind of goes back to the last podcast episode, the Barcast episode, where we say, like, where's my value? Yeah. And, how much I charge my clients, and what activities I'm doing personally as an owner. What's the value of that? What's the going rate of that if I just hired somebody to do it? And it's the name of it is labor utilization. Like, how am I utilizing my personal labor? Well, the goal is that if I work 50 hours a week billing, like if I work 50 hours a week in general, then I want as close to 100% of those hours to be billable, because that means, or revenue generating activity, because that means that every minute that I spend working, it's something that's going to bring money back into the business. Well, that's impossible to be 100%, but I want to be pretty damn close. Like if I can get to 80, 90%, that's healthy. So what am I talking about, right? So like as an entrepreneur, work on your business, not in your business. Like there's this other piece that's like, okay, well, somebody has to work on my business. So let's say I decide I want 80% of my time to be revenue generating activities, 20% to be, working on my business. Like that's where I'm at right now. Like, how do I get to that point? Because I feel like I'm spending too much time kind of in the middle, where it's not really revenue generating, but it's not really moving my business forward. It's just maintaining. Yeah. And so I'm trying to take that maintenance out. Like the day-to-day administrative stuff needs to be offloaded, because if I can find somebody for $15 an hour or $20 an hour, well, I can charge somebody a multiple if I can get that off my plate. Right? So that's really where I'm lying right now. When I take that off my plate, it's the time isn't going to go to clients, but it's going to go to my business and setting up like my online business, because that's passive income. If I can get an online structure where it's either passive income or it's almost like a salesperson marketing for me, when I do that, then to me, it's not generating immediate revenue, but it's revenue generating in the sense in the future it's going to generate revenue. Yeah. So I went over a bunch of things.
No, it's all good. But the key takeaway from that, for me anyway, was like, I still struggle with that every single day. Yeah. Like and what I'm talking about is just feeling like I'm working for my business and not on my business. Yeah. I feel like an employee sometimes, a lot. Yeah. And trying to work my way out of that, sometimes it feels like I'm pretty lost on it. And granted, some of it I've done to myself. I have the morning mentorship where I go live with my folks, but I kind of actually enjoy that. Like that's an enjoyable part. Yeah. But everything else, it does feel like I'm just constantly working. It feels like I'm working for somebody else and not really me. Yeah. But I think a lot of that also has to do with like fear of giving up some control. Yeah. Like being able to trust somebody to run certain areas of the company or whatever. But the other part is just knowing like when's the appropriate time to do that too, because I think some people do it too quickly, and Absolutely. Then other people take it to the other extreme and do it too long. Like what? And I guess because you just hired somebody, like what's the turning point?
We talked about this in the last Barcast, which was you hold on until it busts out. And I was busting out from the sense of I looked at my schedule and I just felt like I was at the brim, where like every minute there was something I was going to. And, almost on the edge of burnout, where I can feel when I'm getting overwhelmed. And so at that point, when it was consistent, it was just consistently being overwhelmed, and I didn't have the time, then that was the point where, yeah, I kept saying to myself, I need to build the e-commerce side. I need to build these learning platforms. I have to do that. When I looked at my situation, it wasn't because I was lazy. It wasn't because I was wasting time. It was, okay, I just don't have the time to do it now, right now. So that was the point where I tried to hold on as long as I can. I held on for 2 years.
Right.
And then I hired my first client. And even that is very slow. It's literally, she's maybe doing, shout out to Emmy, she's maybe doing like 5 hours a month, less than 10 hours a month. That I want to build that up. I want to ramp that up eventually. I also brought on my first coach, which not my first coach. She's potentially going to be my first coach, but my first contract work. Right. So that was through WeTrade HQ and helping out, supporting me with my clients. So they're not just relying on me. Again, I have to think about the long-term objective. Like, it's easy for my clients to want like a Christian fix. Well, I need to consider that like that's not a sustainable model. Mm-hmm. Let me start creating entry points for my clients and testing them out. And that's why it's great for me to be an officer in WeTrade HQ, is because I can kind of try it out and then I can get honest feedback. And then when I launch it with my other clients, it's just going to be a product I offer and be like, hey, there's this financial program, boom, we can do it.
Right. What happens when WeTrade HQ comes to the point to where you can't handle 262 anymore? We're just gonna buy you up, or what?
Probably. I mean,
we'll just be the whole marketing department, and we'll just scoop you in.
Exactly. I mean, everybody has a price.
No, but seriously, like, what's the end game?
The end game for me?
Yeah.
The end game for me has always been to teach and to coach. And so I want to be a professor. And I want to be a professor just to help out the next generation. So that's the teaching. It doesn't have to be at a university, but I see it being at a university because that allows me to research. Like, I care a lot about the psychology of management. I care a lot about, all the things we can't see in management. And so a professor is a researcher. So I want to just research the biggest questions I ask myself and try to solve those. And then I want to do that through my clients. So like having my clients and having a company that has coaches and I can just observe and gather data, that's my ultimate goal. And you can kind of answer your question, like, I don't want to be beholden to my company. I don't want to be, that's just an employee.
Right.
So the end game for me is to create multiple income streams passively through the work I do today and to leave a company in a great position where I'm holding equity, and that's a passive stream, and then I can, pursue my life's work.
Which, I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense because, like, and I think that the way that you're approaching, like, educating people, especially like entrepreneurs and stuff, is what made you so unique as like my instructor when I was in college, because the way that you taught us was like something that I've never been taught before. Like, it was completely unique. Even some of the stuff that you brought to the classroom, just like there was no like real assignments. I mean, there was some structure, but most of it was kind of like, what is it that we wanted to talk about, giving certain scenarios and stuff like that, and like real world examples. Especially because at the time you were with your other business, Avant, and like it was cool just to hear what you were going through at the time in a business management class. And I think that that's something that like a lot of instructors or a lot of professors don't get. They're just teaching straight from a book, and I think that's why there's a lot of kids now that like are just coming out of college and have no like real life skills. They have all the book smarts is what a lot of people call it, and no real way to apply it. And so I think what you're doing is giving the ability for people that are learning or going through college to actually apply it to the real world, because there's like disconnect, and I think that would definitely bridge the gap.
Yeah, well, it's crazy. I mean, think about this. You remember the name of my company, right? Like that meant something to you for you to do that. I can't remember things that my professors told me. Like, there's few things I do remember. So that it means that something resonated. And that was like the beginning, the planting of the seed for me, where it was a proof of concept. Like I saw, hey, I can use my business to provide education, and it's not like fluff. It's not fake. It's,
Right.
hey, I'm in it. Like we would use examples that I hadn't found the solution, and we talk about it in the moment. What better value can I provide as an instructor than, hey, here's an example. Like bring your answer to me, and let's work through it. And then the great thing was, if you remember, like we'd try to look at solutions and we could see them play out, because I'd decide on it, I'd implement it in the business, and then we could see if it worked or it didn't work. But that is the whole point, where there's a lot of things that frustrate me with the education system, and I feel like I want to be that change agent. Like I want to change the way people think, the way they teach, and it starts with management, because that's the greatest impact I can have. It starts with business, but we oftentimes, like that's one thing I want to segue into, is like my biggest challenge right now. So in the way I taught, so this is how I teach. The way I teach is, you can access information. Like what I'm not trying to do is I'm not trying to see how great you are at memorizing something. That's a waste of time. If I'm in business, then, and you've heard this before, but like if I'm in business meaning, I'm like, oh, there's this sort of management theory. I'm not going to look at my book and try to figure out what that is, or I'm not going to, like, if I don't remember something, I'm not going to go back through my notes. I'm going to Google search it. Like, it's just simple, it's easy. And so I think that where we need to be providing value in our education system is to teach people how to think, teach people how to be proactive, how to find solutions. Because I think the way it's set up now is people don't know how to deal with adversity. Adversity hits them in the face and they just start making excuses. Mm-hmm. And so what I want to create is I want people to go through the 262 school and to be like, there's always a solution. When I face adversity, let me figure out how to get out of it, because I've been through it, I've worked through it, and I believe in myself. How many students just go through and memorize stuff, but they can never implement it, or there's not practical knowledge? Whereas I want to teach you how to think, and I want you to teach you how to believe in yourself, which kind of like leads into my biggest struggle now, is where my clients want to be taught in a traditional way. They want to be given the answer, and they think that what I'm trying to do is tell them how to create a document or whatever. No, you can get templates for that. I'm trying to understand your mindset, create self-awareness, and figure out where you need to spend your energies.
That was a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
So let's start. Can I talk about the challenge I'm facing, because it keeps coming up?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'll be a little bit more specific. So the challenge I'm facing now is I've really been struggling with this idea of how I should coach. And I've been second guessing myself, because so many of my clients have been, a couple of my clients.
The thousands of,
There's millions of clients.
we got Gary Vee over here, guys.
I've been, document. What is his line? Document, don't,
I don't know, he records everything, right?
yeah, create, don't, whatever.
Does that guy record when he takes a shit?
He does. That's like the B-roll.
But a couple of my clients keep wanting me to just give them the answer. And even my employee, right? I'm trying to work her through the method with which I teach, which is like, tell me what you're thinking. What would your next step be? And it's that whole teach a man to fish type deal. Yeah. People don't like that. They're not comfortable in that, because their whole lives they've been educated in a different way. So it's hard. It's hard because I get a lot of resistance. And my clients are like, just tell me. Like, no, like model. This big thing that keeps coming up is like, can you just model it for me and I'll learn from modeling? Well, I can model it for you, but if you don't know what goes into it, what the recipe is to create that sauce, then how are you going to do it in a different way, in a different venue?
Right.
And so I was really questioning my strategy. And I've been struggling with, I talked to you about finding a mentor. And I found someone that I really like. And what he reaffirmed everything I thought, like in his strategy, and there's a name for it. It's actually called Coactive coaching. So he told me about this book called Coactive Coaching, and I got it, and I'm like listening to it, and I'm like, hell yes, like this is what I've been looking for, like this, but it's everything I've been saying, and it's just articulated a little bit better, but it's there in writing, which means like, okay, I now have a foundation to stand on, because it's not just me making this up, me creating something, somebody who's researched and who's done it. So then I started reading it, and I'm about over halfway through. I'm like, forget what my clients say, like what's best for them. I'll determine and I'm not saying I know what's best for them, but I determine what my strategy is, and it either resonates or not. That's like a student telling me, this is the way you need to teach me. No, like there's students that don't like the way I teach. Not many, because I have like a 4.9 out of 5 on Meet My Professor and I'm a chili pepper. We talked about that. But there are students that are like, that doesn't resonate with me. And that's okay. I'm not trying to get every client in the world.
Right.
I just need to know who I am and be who I am, and then let the people who are complimented by that find me.
Right.
So that's been on my mind for 2 months, maybe longer, because it's like, does the client know what's best for them, or do they just want to be comfortable? So it's been a struggle.
That was some freaking content gold. I was just sitting here like absorbing it all. If you guys didn't get anything out of that, I don't know what else we need to do for you. So I really want to kind of go into this, but I think we're gonna have to save that for next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more content such as this. And that is it. As always, I will see you all before the bell. MP Smith is out. Thanks, Christian. Thanks to the horse you came in on for today's Barcast.